I think it's safe to say that video games help connect the world. It gives us a similar interest and goal with any other person we come into contact with, whether it's someone on the other side of the world or someone in the same room as you. I know it certainly helped me connect with others. My dad and I bonded over old video games from the Sega Genesis to the PlayStation 2. My sister and I over Mario Kart. My mom and dad got me an Xbox in 2008 with Halo 3. For a while, this is where me and my friends would play local split screen on Soundtrap and mess with each other in Forge. But in 2010, a new game released, something that changed my life forever. There's never really been another game that I've been able to sink as many hours into as I was able to with Halo Reach. A game that was accessible to those who were competitive, or those who just wanted to have a good time, the creative, or the skilled. It's truly a game for anyone. Something that totally went over my head when I was an 11-year-old kid that I didn't really get to fully appreciate until now was the campaign. Over the past few weeks, I replayed it with a friend of mine. As a kid, so much of the dark story that makes Halo Reach so impactful went straight over my head. When the game starts, you are greeted with a shot of your helmet, trashed, shattered, broken, on the ground. You are told from the beginning that you will lose. It fades into a shot of your helmet, in clean, new condition, being set on your head. You are then introduced to the team you'll be working with. The team consists of 6 members. First we have Carter, Noble 1. He's the captain of the team. He's both courageous, brave, and also a bit stern. He tends to speak his mind even if that means getting into trouble. Then we have Kat, who's Noble 2. She's the brains of the team, the one who you could count on if you needed information, even if some of that information was classified. June, Noble 3, he's the quiet type, which is quite fitting for him considering he's the team's sniper. Emil, aka Noble 4, is the brash and snarky assault specialist who had the skull helmet everyone thought was really cool. Noble 5 is George, the man with the big weapon, but also a pretty big heart. George would be the member of the team to speak with civilians, despite carrying around a massive machine gun. The last member of the team is Noble 6. That's you. Yeah, you looking at this video, that's you. You are Noble 6. For the first time in Halo, you were you in the campaign. The customization allowed you to express your character's personality through the story itself. And to me, this is one of the most important parts that made Halo Reach something special. The story was centered around you and your actions in saving the world. This made it feel personal, both in the stakes of Reach's invasion, but as well as the things you would pull off and achieve throughout the story. I would say Halo Reach's story in of itself was very unlike anything Halo has ever done before. For the vast majority of Halo, it's a game of bravery, courage, and excitement. You're kicking alien butt and saving the world. But that's not how it goes in Halo Reach. As I said before, the intro of the game tells you you're fighting a losing battle. Reach was an intercolony planet, which was expected to be fairly safe throughout the war, but in just over a month's time, the planet was invaded, conquered, and glassed by the Covenant. What made Halo Reach feel so incredible was the mix of tools you used and the moments you experienced. Whether you're on a stealth mission with a sniper in Nightfall, or in a space battle in Long Night of Solstice, every moment is so different and unique. Halo is a game of small, big moments that have a lasting impact that make you feel a part of a bigger world, where massive ships will fly down from the atmosphere just to drop you off a tank. One of those missions that captures both the unique tools and the large moments is Tip of the Spear, which so happens to be my favorite mission in any Halo game. The mission starts with a cutscene, a push actually, on the invading Covenant. This is the most confident your team will feel through the entirety of Reach. In the blink of an eye, you'll pretty much lose the army behind you, and now it's just you and Kat, using the grenade launcher and assault rifle to take out a gathering of enemies. Once that task is completed,
Yeah.
I'm dead.
Cool.
You get on a rocket warthog, where you now use a vehicle to traverse the landscape and make it to a Covenant AA turret, and are tasked to take it out. In the background is a massive war between the UNSC and the Covenant.
They were much more prepared than we thought they were. Could this be the fall of Reach?
Maybe, I don't know. I think Reach is,
I think it'll be okay. I don't think they'd end a game badly.
After you take out the anti-aircraft turret, you're greeted by 2 frigates that swoop down and start taking down enemies, allowing you to continue. This is something that I consider a huge event in a small moment. You're then tasked to take out one more anti-aircraft turret by traversing different types of terrain with a mix of on foot, through buildings, warthogs, and even Covenant vehicles as well. Once you take out the second turret, you're picked up by George to do the main part of your task, push on the spire. You take a seat in a unique Falcon that has attached grenade launcher turrets, where you're flown through a canyon and shoot down a mass of enemies, with the war waging on behind them. Once you make it to the spire, you crash land, and now have to take it out on foot, with just a weapon and a jetpack, by infiltrating the enemy and climbing the tower to deactivate the shield surrounding it. Once it's taken out, you leave, confident that you have saved the day with your team, and watch as another frigate comes in. The spire is destroyed, and your team are confident and proud, but only for a split moment. Directly after, the frigate is shot down by a massive Covenant cruiser that has the capabilities to glass the entire planet. Right then and there, your confidence to win is crushed, and it becomes apparent that this won't be an easy battle. Between the different vehicles and weapons you use, to the cool moments that happen around you, or that you directly interact with, makes Tip of the Spear a great mission to play over and over. Tip of the Spear is that peak of hope that you hold, and by the end of it, it's crushed, which completely sets the tone for the rest of the game. The dark tone that Halo Reach's story conveyed wasn't just incorporated into the loss of the entire planet due to an alien invasion, but something on a much smaller and personal note: the loss of your team. When meeting Noble Team at first, they are all just soldiers that you are assigned to work with, just as you begin to know them on a more personal level, and view them as more than just suits of armor. They die. The deaths, however, are very personal to each of them, as the way they die is hugely in part to the design of their character. The first to go was Noble 5, George. As I said before, despite having a big gun, he also had a big heart, and he died the way someone with a big heart would, sacrificing himself for the good of humanity.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. The time has come to return the favor. Don't deny me this.
The second to go was Kat, Noble 2. She was the brains of the team, whose knowledge helped Noble Team in a multitude of ways, but was shot in the head, leaving her knowledge behind.
Maybe, but according to Holland, the Covenant are still hunting for something.
Where does he get off calling a demolition a priority one?
The third to go is Carter, Noble 1. He was the captain, and simply went down with the ship, literally crashing it into a scarab, in order to allow his team to survive longer and achieve the mission.
We can get past this, sir.
No, you can't. Not without help.
Commander, you don't have the firepower.
I've got the math.
Solid copy. Hit him on, boss.
You're on your own, Noble. Carter out.
The fourth to go was Emil, or Noble 4. Emil was brash, both a smartass, short-ranged, and short-tempered. Despite being a close-range fighter, he was caught off guard and stabbed by an elite with an energy sword. Being as hard-headed as he was, he used his last seconds to kill the elite as well, both dying on the ground together.
Who's next? I'm ready! How about you?
The only member to survive was June, the sniper. As quiet and stealthy as he is, it's only fitting for him to be the one to leave and tell the tale. The sixth member, and the last one to die, was you. After everyone else was gone, it was up to you. In the final mission of Lone Wolf, you are low on supplies and all on your own. You're swarmed with waves of enemies that are never ending. The battle goes on, your visor cracks, worse and worse, until... Despite losing Reach, your team, and even your life, the game leaves you on a positive note, that your sacrifice wasn't for nothing. Even though Reach was lost, the deaths and sacrifices of noble teams saved the human race by delivering Cortana and completing their duties. Halo isn't Halo without the goofiness to it. This also goes for Halo Reach. Halo Reach's multiplayer was an absolute blast, let me tell you, whether you are playing a round of Slayer or a round of Infection. Halo Reach also benefited from being in the prime time of Xbox Live game chat, where you would meet such interesting characters as baby crying in the background, yelling moms, little kids playing a rated M game, older people yelling at everyone else despite being the worst player on the team, crunchy men, ugly men, just wacky people, and even Mr. Herbert himself. Yeah, that's a Family Guy reference. You didn't think I'd be throwing that in there, but yes, I actually did meet a guy who had a Mr. Herbert impression in chat as a kid. You never know what you would run into in these games. As a matter of fact, that's where you're able to meet people. People who become your friends that could last forever. Halo Reach had a ton of fun games that cater to all sorts of players, SWAT being competitive, or Juggernaut being social. There were even more fun game modes like Assault, Capture the Flag, and King of the Hill. But you know what would be cooler than that? Combining them. Let me introduce to you Invasion. Halo Reach's Invasion is like the holy grail of Halo multiplayer. You are thrown into a 16-player game with 2 teams, where you either play as a Spartan or an Elite, and your goal is to either capture or defend points in a 3-stage process based on your role. The game gets to a boiling point where 2 out of 3 points have been grabbed, and the third is just about to be captured, where you're either pushing and rushing to pull it off, or doing the same to try to keep the other team at bay. Halo Reach's multiplayer as a whole, but primarily Invasion, wouldn't have been nearly as fun as it was if it wasn't for its sandbox. In addition to many old and classic weapons returning to Halo, we were also introduced to an arsenal of new vehicles, weapons, and more. The Revenant was what you would get if a Warthog, a Ghost, and a Wraith had a threesome. Pink and sparkly, small and fast, compact, but this guy would pack a punch. The Revenant shoots miniature Wraith bullets with thrusters while also being a 2-seater vehicle like the Warthog. This is great for dropping your friends to a location, capture the flag, or just having fun. The Falcon is by far the greatest vehicle in Halo history, both in terms of its aesthetic and practicality. The Falcon replaced the Hornet, and boy, was it worth it. The Falcon was a 3-person vehicle, 1 pilot, and 2 man turrets on the side. This meant the vehicle couldn't do any damage unless you had at least 1 teammate on your side, but that's what made it special. It was powerful, fast, and the feeling of piloting it was probably what made the vehicle so fun to use. There's something to be said for which vehicles stick out to most players in a Halo game. Prime example is the Warthog, a vehicle which relies on teamwork to work. That's what made the Revenant and the Falcon so great, because they weren't as weak as the Mongoose. They were actually quite powerful, but relied on the ability to use teamwork to get the most effectiveness out of it. That teamwork built connections and allowed for players to feel proud of working as a unit, the way you can't while running on foot. The game is also rich with new weapons. While controversial at first and wouldn't really find its place until Halo 4, the DMR entered the scene and would temporarily replace the battle rifle through the span of Halo Reach. That being said, the DMR is still extremely fun to use, and it's definitely grown on the player base since 2010. Other weapons join the scene like the needle rifle. It's a lot like the Covenant carbine, but it explodes! And that's pretty cool. We also saw the emergence of the grenade launcher, which blows up and EMPs vehicles, the concussion rifle, which blows up and throws vehicles like ragdolls, and the plasma launcher, which would launch sticky grenades with tracking abilities. All of the new weapons were just a blast to use, and continue to be so 10 years later. The sandbox of Halo also introduced armor abilities. You got Sprint, which lets you run fast, Evade, which lets you roll fast, Jetpack, which lets you fly fast. Pretty nifty stuff. But you also got holograms and active camo. They weren't that useful. They had very specific needs. They look cool though. And we just won't talk about armor lock. But finally, the bubble shield. As a kid, the jetpack was everything to me. It let me go up, and that was fun. I could fly, and that's sick. But but I never knew until now how incredible the bubble shield was in the game. The bubble shield both looked cool, but also had great abilities. It protected you from shots, albeit not many, but it also regens the player's health, which you couldn't do without a health pack otherwise. The sandbox wouldn't be complete without offering total freedom of vehicles. There was no movement limit on these vehicles, which means if they kept falling, they kept going faster. While all these things were really helpful to the enjoyment of multiplayer and campaign, it actually helped with something way more. Yeah, that's right, baby. We're talking about Forge. Forge in Halo Reach was something special. It was simple enough for everyone to use and complex enough to allow timers, physics, and give players total, complete control over map design. For the first time, you could phase objects in between one another. The limit of objects was raised, and the new map Forge World was bigger than any other map we've seen before. With Forge World, you got access to all types of structures to build to your heart's content. I spent more time than you can imagine just sitting in my room as a kid and building things on Forge. I probably spent thousands of hours doing so. That being said, Halo Reach's Forge and custom games wouldn't have been nearly as good if it weren't for the vast array of game modes, armor abilities, and the lack of movement restrictions. Look at what it allowed us to do. The inclusion of game modes such as Invasion allowed players to tell a story while playing through a Forge map. Time scripts would allow for the same through Infection as well. Infection was actually the catalyst for all kinds of unique game modes to be made, allowing a few players to have different traits than everyone else, or simply just spawn in a different area. Infection led to so many unique maps that the list could probably go on forever. And then there was Race. It allowed you to put your driving skills to the test, as you would race your friends through different custom-made maps to see who could come out on top. Custom games definitely peaked in Halo Reach. It allowed you to play with your friends. But what it really did was bring a community together. Oh my god. After all, if it wasn't for the Halo community, Halo Reach wouldn't have gotten the massive custom games it did. Without an in-game voice chat, we wouldn't have been able to meet as many people as we had. Because of the community, Halo Reach got to be as exciting as it was. Whether it was forging with your buddy on split screen, or playing around a firefight with your friends from across the world, it didn't matter. What made it so fun was having friends to spend that time with. And if it wasn't for this community, I don't think I'd be where I am today. Watching Rooster Teeth play Achievement Horse when I was a kid with maps created by the community, watching Team Epiphany's Epic Maps series where they showcased the best of the best that Halo Reach Forge maps had to offer, were always just a blast to me. Between the community, through Halo, and on YouTube, it inspired me to do it myself. As a 13-year-old kid with a newfound dream, I decided to start my channel. It was bad, and I mean bad. I literally held a phone up to the TV and recorded it. But it allowed me to have fun with my friends and create content I could go back and watch even now. And if it wasn't for that, I would have never learned to edit. I would have never gone to film camp as a kid, and I would have never found my passion in life. All that started with a game called Halo Reach. Now, 10 years later, Halo Reach is getting an actual content update. Fully customizable elites, new customization, which hopefully means we'll get new visor colors, and things that we don't even know yet. 10 years later. 10 years, and people still have the same love for it that I have. Halo Reach and the community behind it helped me find my passion in life. And to this day, I can go back and get on with friends, new and old, and experience the same joy that I did 10 years ago. That's a mark of a good game. And that's Halo Reach.